Hello.
Hello, Isabel. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you very much for making yourself available to do this podcast today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Isabel, for inviting.
No problem. So I was really interested in talking to you because when I was reading about you and hearing about you, I listened to other podcasts where you speak, and I saw a little bit of myself because I'm also someone who left the home country very young. And I wanted to explore the world when I was a teenager. So I studied and traveled, and I thought when I was listening to you that you had a little bit of a similar background, which you will explain. How you were a French citizen, and suddenly you took your bags and you traveled to Southeast Asia. So I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Yeah, thank you very much, Isabel. It's absolutely true. Yeah, very strong willingness to explore the world from young age. And actually, Asia was after different other experiences, especially in the Americas, North America, Central America, South America, where I had the chance to live as well. Different countries in Europe. And then I discovered Asia back in 2010. And I had the chance to move there more on a permanent basis from 2011. So my first experience there in Asia, full-time experience, was with a French company called Gameloft, doing mobile apps in the telecommunication and entertainment sector. So I moved there back in 2011. So that's more than 11 years ago, almost 12 years ago.
Time flies.
Absolutely, especially in Southeast Asia. Maybe it's the aging also, which is true in any climate or any country, but I think it's also related to the climate, because when you live in tropical country, there is no season. So you are in a continuum of, and also the level of energy, that makes everything go super fast and on a continuous basis. So that's really interesting. And then you look back and you realize you've been here for more than 10 years, soon 12 years. So that's actually quite fast, yeah.
Yeah, because with the seasons, at least there's fast-paced time, but there's also slow down times. I think it's
Yeah, exactly.
different. I was living in California, and it's a little bit the same where you have also very nice weather all year round. So it's almost always summer to some extent because the winters are so light.
Yeah, exactly. To the point where when I have the chance to go back to, for instance, Europe or North America, and it's in the cold season, I'm actually enjoying it because it's nice to have a few weeks of cold weather every now and then. So that's interesting. We always kind of look for something different, for contrast also. So that's quite funny. Yeah.
So I think I'd like to go back to what you were saying about. So you went to live there in Southeast Asia, and you had a job, but
Yes,
now
absolutely.
you work for yourself. So how did you make
Mhm.
that leap? I think a lot of people would like to know do you go from being an employee and to make that jump to start your
Yeah.
own
So
business?
first of all, I was directly in charge of different offices in the region, and I had the opportunity to really form new subsidiary in certain markets when I was working for the large companies, because I spent 4 years with Gameloft, then 2 years in a large Australian company. And every time I was kind of an intrapreneur, whereby I had the opportunity to really form new teams, to lead different offices around the region. So that gave me a lot of understanding about the entire, I would say, context from a cultural perspective, also from a business perspective, which of course are highly related. And so, yeah, in total, I spent 6 years working within large listed companies. And then I decided it was the right time for me to make the switch. That's something I had in my mind already for quite some time. And so I decided to take the leap of faith back in 2016. So it's been now more than 6 years that I have my own companies. Now it's plural because there are different companies, but they are also quite related. And it's been really a great journey, I must say.
And congratulations! I made the leap in 2015, so it is a leap, a
Yeah,
little bit of a leap of faith, where you say, okay, we'll see what happens. So, what is so special about living and working in Malaysia and, as opposed to China, for example, or people probably heard of Singapore? So, those are the countries I think that, at least from where we are in Europe, I think we think more China and Singapore and not so much Malaysia. So, what was your drive to live and work there?
Yeah, so there are many different factors. One of them definitely is that, as for most countries in Southeast Asia itself, you have a lot of very strong energy because those cities are and those countries are growing very fast, and you can feel this energy everywhere, which is quite nice and exciting, and that reflects on the in the business world where you have very interesting opportunities emerging with growth rates. Like on average, those years I've spent in Southeast Asia, the growth rate was probably somewhere between 5 and 7%. So you have across all the economy, right? So you have a lot of opportunities in multiple sectors. What is interesting specifically about Malaysia, and actually you find it in Singapore also, is the fact that those are multicultural countries. So you have extremely different groups of people that compose the nations. That's a heritage from the history of those countries. So it's culturally extremely rich. Plus, you have, of course, the overall, I would say, tropical environment, which is, as I was mentioning earlier, also quite pleasant, and that gives a lot of opportunities also to travel and to explore. So yeah, there are many good reasons, honestly, to enjoy the life there and to be always curious to know and to discover something new.
And what about tech? Because I know a lot of people probably think now about entrepreneurship and opportunities from a business standpoint. What type of things right now would be great ideas, maybe, or opportunity areas in terms
So
of
in
business and tech, maybe something like that.
Yeah, so in terms of technology, what's something I noticed from the first moment I moved there is really the appetite in the region from the consumers, also from corporates, to always look at and consider new technologies. So there is definitely less resistance and maybe more hunger to get into the latest technology, whether you're talking about mobile consumer technology or some larger infrastructure projects. So that's something that is also quite obvious about the region, this very strong appetite for high tech, which gives then in turn a number of opportunities, because if you come with specific solutions that will address specific problems, maybe in telecommunication or in security or in different sectors, you can definitely have an opportunity to pitch this solution and to sell it to different countries, to different large organizations that will use your technology, basically.
Yeah, so basically, if you're an entrepreneur with an idea, chances are that maybe you find a better audience there for your product and might
Yeah,
be a bit easier.
yeah. I mean, of course, it really depends where you're based currently, and what kind of support you can get or not in the country where you start the business from. I would say on a general level that probably the pace will be a bit faster, whether it's related to what I was describing, the appetite for innovation and technology, or whether it's related to less administrative roadblocks or various aspects which make it probably possible to go faster. It doesn't mean that it's all easy or that it's impossible to make it from other countries or other continents. But there definitely are a few factors which I would say are very positive for new businesses to launch and to grow fast.
This is good to know, definitely, because a lot of people now are wanting to look for, investors and maybe find better places. It's quite complicated now in Europe if you follow the news, and also probably
Yeah.
worldwide, but especially in Europe with the energy crisis and all that. So people might be looking at alternatives right now to settle and build a business. So tell us a little bit about about you and your business. What is it that you do, and who do you work with, and how do you deliver your business, basically?
Yeah, so the main company which I founded in back in 2016, and strategy or NSCS and strategy consulting services, we focus on opening the markets of Southeast Asia and Oceania, so Australia and New Zealand, for tech companies. At first, we were working primarily with European companies, and as of today, we have projects, clients, and partners from really all over the world, including North America, Japan, even from Australia, Middle East, etc. So what we do is that we identify fast-growing technology companies in different sectors. For instance, currently we have a lot of demand in cybersecurity or risk management, but we've had also many projects in innovation related to urban development, smart cities, and so on, or in more like purely software sectors, whether it's related to advertising technology, etc. So what we do is we are introduced usually to these companies, or they find us, or someone from my team will identify a very interesting company, and we will discuss with this company and help them basically to understand, first of all, what are the opportunities in Southeast Asia and Australia, New Zealand, and then we will execute the growth plan. Typically starting with a few markets, leveraging on our existing connections to generate business quickly for them. Once we have generated business, then we go to the next stage, which is to establish their presence in the long term in APAC. And sometimes we also co-invest in those projects. So now, we come to a pretty interesting point. After 6 years, we're about to sign our 100th client, which is really beyond my wildest dreams when I started back in 2016 all by myself. And we have more than 60 people in the team, which makes it, a very interesting company I would say, to lead. And yeah, we're having a lot of fun. We have some full-time people. We have people working with us on a consultant basis, so that we can offer the expertise in different sectors and in different countries as and when necessary for our clients.
Wow, this is great. You did a good job in developing the business for sure. So, what type of skills do you think are in high demand right now where you are?
So in terms of skills, if you look at the market for the talent, as just like anywhere, of course, a lot of tech people are always very welcome, and that's why you have different programs, whether it's in Malaysia or in Singapore or even in Thailand, etc., to facilitate the arrival of tech people, as in people who can really like code and develop some specific softwares, etc. So those, of course, are skills that are always highly demanded. I think it's the same pretty much anywhere in the world. And you also have, I think, room for people who can understand different cultures, and especially, who are used to Asian cultures, but who can also understand, let's say, European culture or American culture, etc., to bridge the gap, which is super important, especially now. So there are multiple possibilities. We see success of people also for instance, to take something completely different, opening like restaurants or bakeries, etc. So there is demand for multiple different things. So if you can bring some good stuff, whether it's a good product, whether it's a high tech or low tech, but extremely tasty thing to those countries, you have a lot of opportunity also.
Did the country get hit a lot with COVID crisis or?
So definitely there were many restrictions, just like in most countries in the world. That being said, the economy remained quite strong overall in the region. Of course, there was an impact, just like anywhere else, because of multiple macroeconomic factors that are beyond also the control of specific country or specific government. That being said, the resilience, I think, in those countries has been pretty impressive. And what you see already is a pickup of the economy, and you can observe that in multiple sectors, like for instance, tourism has already started to grow again, and foreign investment also restarted, etc., etc.
Wow, so definitely growing, a growing country. Could you share maybe a few tips for people, who want to make it there, students, professionals, entrepreneurs, anyone watching really, maybe who's thinking about going back there, any best advice from someone who's been there for a long time and knows the country inside out?
Yeah, I think what's important at the beginning is to accept that there are many things that you will not necessarily understand well from a cultural standpoint. So there is definitely a need for adjustment and adaptation. If I compare with my experience in the Americas, for instance, culturally speaking, it's it's much closer when you're in the America, whether you're in North America or South America. It's not the same than France or any country in Europe, but the differences are not as important, of course, whether you're looking at the way the society is organized or the way individuals are functioning and analyzing situation, which makes it very interesting. So I would say that at the beginning there is a need for a moment of adaptation, and you will not understand everything from the beginning. You need to accept that. Be very curious to learn and to hear and to observe how things work there, and then progressively, to make good connections there, because I think it's true anywhere in the world, but it's probably even more true in Asia. It's extremely relationship driven. So the more you will build trustworthy, relationships with a number of people, the more doors will open for you. And this, of course, requires time. So yeah, my advice probably is to spend time to understand, especially cultural differences, invest in relationships with people, understand the cultures, and from there, it's already a pretty good starting point to grow and to succeed.
Well, it's what I say. It's networking and building your network. So really, in the end, it's worldwide. If you
Yeah,
want to, if you want to grow, build business, etc., you need to have a network. So and it's true more than anything else, especially for if you're foreign, because you really start from scratch. You don't know anybody at the beginning, so you need to build that base network and then grow from there. And then people, they need to see a little bit if you're serious about staying long term in the country before they
yeah,
invest time in you.
correct.
So as an expat, you have to do even more, I would say, to show that you're serious, that you're
True.
looking into the long term type of thing
Mm,
before they trust you and want to do business with you.
that's true.
So any last thoughts or anything you want to share?
Well, I think it's very as we were saying just now, especially Southeast Asia is definitely full of opportunities. So I can only encourage people, either if it's at personal level or professional level, to have a look and consider, and to really strengthen all the possible exchanges between different continents, because I think that's extremely powerful when you have strong trade relationships between different parts of the world. Better to focus on trade than anything else, and cultural understanding than something else. So yeah, very happy if some of your listeners are passing by Southeast Asia, especially Kuala Lumpur or Singapore. When I'm in Asia, most of the time I'm in one of these two cities. Very happy to meet with them, to catch up for coffee. You see, that's another good aspect of Southeast Asia. There is this very strong ease to get to meet people for coffee and to chat, just like this, which is pretty good. So yeah, very happy to meet some of your listeners if they happen to drop by the region.
We're doing a virtual coffee this morning.
Ah,
So it's basically the best we can do distance wise. We're doing a
correct,
virtual coffee.
correct.
But yeah, it was great to talk to you and share your nuggets of wisdom with me and with the audience today. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Isabel. It was really a pleasure.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice day.